Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chaos, Clarity, and Confidence, Finding You Again. I'm your host, Victoria, and today I am joined by someone whose story I know is going to resonate deeply with so many of you. Today we have Jess, who is a recovering, multi-passionate entrepreneur and mom of three. After a burnout spiral led to fibromyalgia diagnosis and the decision to walk away from everything she had built, Jess began a journey of self-healing that transformed her life. Today, she's the host of Becoming You Project, a podcast where she explores the many ways we disconnect from ourselves and, more importantly, how you can find your way back. She now helps soul-aligned entrepreneurs realign their business with their energy so they can grow sustainably, avoid burnout, and connect with a deeper sense of purpose and meaning. Jess, welcome. I am very excited to have this conversation today. I feel like that could also be my story. The multi-passionate entrepreneur, too many kids, too many things. So
Yeah, seriously.
please tell us more about you. Share your story. How did this all begin? We'd love to hear more.
Yes, and so thank you first for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. I think that, the more people I talk to, the more I realize how common this story really is for so
Yeah.
many of us. Like, especially like late 30s, early 40s something woman who's like, or anyone really, but like in this phase of just starting to evaluate everything that like brought us to this
Mhm.
point and where we are. And for some of us, I think that introspection is more like gentle and guided, and for others it is started by something a little bit bigger, like a trauma or a diagnosis or something like that.
Mhm.
Um yeah, so as you said, yeah, I'm a mom of three. My kids are there's a big spread in age, so we've been in like the little kid version forever. They're like almost 12, they're just turned 4. And I would say like most of my life was a series of happy accidents, that just sort of like led me down the road. I think I've always had a strong connection with my intuition, but I wouldn't have named it as that.
Mhm.
And so I sort of just fell onto the path that led me, here through, like through college. Like I'm just gonna like go to a college, I don't know, pick a major, show up in some, land a job that's cool, but like I don't know why I ended up in public
Yeah.
relations. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I just like followed the path.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so it was really like around when I had kids, I moved back to my hometown and I ended up taking a role. I wanted to just like do something that I had what I thought was like a little bit more control over my schedule. So I ended up in real estate.
Mm.
And, from there, I really just like, I kept just like following the path. And as I look back on it now, I think that I, um, I was, I didn't really know what the void was that I was feeling. So I was
Mhm.
in real estate and there was something there was just something missing.
Yeah.
And so I started a business. I dreamt up an entire bricks and mortar business and indoor play space for kids. That was wonderful. And of course, we opened it in the middle of the pandemic because why wouldn't the timing,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, it just be that way. And, I think before I knew it, I had filled my life with so many things that I think I was trying to connect with some sort of purpose and meaning and fill this void. Um, but I ended up overextending myself. I hadn't really learned how to like self advocate. And
Mhm.
so I burnt out. I ended up in a massive chronic pain spiral with, cognitive challenges and
Mhm.
memory issues. And with the fibromyalgia diagnosis, I really realized that like if I was going to heal, if I was going to reclaim my life as my own, I had to walk away from everything and just give myself time to sit in the unknown and really like messy place of healing, lean into trusting myself and trusting that like my path would unfold.
Mhm. I think you said something really pertinent there that I know so many women connect to is filling the voids, right? Doing and doing and doing. And we're like, if we put more into it, then it'll feel better. I'll feel fuller.
Mhm.
I'll feel all these good things that I want to feel. And I think, that's a prime example. You kept feeling everything and to the point
Yeah.
where you couldn't keep going. Like there was that burnout phase. So when did you realize, did you have like, I know many of us have like some big aha moments. You had the fibromyalgia diagnosis. Did you have a moment of just feeling, I can't keep going. I have to stop. Like, did you have that? What was that like for you to get to that place of getting that diagnosis?
So I think I probably had that feeling many times over, but I ignored it. I kind of
Hmm.
gaslit myself, really.
Yeah.
Like I just told myself like I should be able to push through this. Like, anything
Yeah.
anything that you can like tell your mind that you can do it, right? So
Yeah.
just like or I also told myself like it'll get better when the kids get a little bit older, or it'll get better when I can hire support. And there was always like it will get better point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think I knew that I was reaching so far out of myself for all the answers. I was
Hmm.
just like doing anything I could to just like, yeah, to fill the void. And what I didn't realize was that the answers were already within me. I just
Hmm.
had to, I had every piece of information and knowledge and that I needed within me, but I just didn't know how to tune in. And
Hmm.
so getting to the point of having the fibromyalgia diagnosis, I think it was really my body's loudest wake up call. I think that I just had ignored so many of those signs, so many of those like really deep knowings.
Hmm.
And so getting the fibromyalgia diagnosis was really, I think, like the excuse I needed to give myself to stop, because otherwise I don't think I was ever going to give myself permission to
Hmm.
do something different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny that we need that, eh? That permission, or, we think we aren't deserving of the stop or the pause. We have to have a reason to do it. So, how did you start to then navigate out of that chaos, out of that space of finally get the permission? How do you start to navigate out of that chaos that you were in?
Yeah, that's a really hard one. So for me, it was like just a full stop. I was having a hard time at points like having simple conversations with people because I couldn't get my like brain and my thoughts to even like
Mhm.
work. And
Yeah.
so, the work I do now is really to help people avoid getting to that same point.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of what I did, in hindsight, it took a really long time to get there, but was quiet my mind.
Mhm.
I needed to really regulate my nervous system. There's a lot of research that shows that like chronic pain, fibromyalgia, IBS are, um, can be linked to some of these like other, the same things that lead to burnout.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
needed to really like regulate my nervous system, and I needed to trust myself. I needed to have compassion with myself and know that like forcing any sort of path was only going to lead me right back down into the same like burnout
Yeah.
spiral.
Yeah.
And self-trust is a really hard thing for us to cultivate
Yeah.
when we've been like disconnected
Yeah.
from our own like inner knowing for so long
Hmm.
that yeah, it can be a really hard thing to learn.
Hmm. And I'm sure there's many listening right now that are thinking, okay, sure, self-trust, but what is that? How do you know? I've heard this so many times in my coaching. How do I know I can trust myself when I keep screwing everything up? You know?
Hmm.
So for you, how did you start to build that self-trust?
Yeah. So, okay, the first thing I think was reconnecting with my intuition, and before that, tuning into my body. So,
Mm-hmm.
I really basic stuff like just starting to like listen to the cues that my body was sending me. Is my body saying that it's in pain right now? A lot of times we bypass that. We just
Yeah.
overlook that. So that at its like most basic form, but then starting to understand again what does my body's yes sound like and what does the no sound like? Like if it's a yes, I feel expansive and light and open. And
Hmm.
if it's a no, I feel blocked and like constricted. And
Yeah.
so tuning in, like, I know my intuition doesn't lead me wrong, but I know that I have to really like tune into that. So when you start to do those things, I think that you start to build self-trust. But there's ways that I did it and that we can do it that are more intentional, I guess, like outward, making creating small practices that I
Hmm.
knew that I could stick to every day
Yeah.
so that if it's like a box I could check off and say, see, like I did that. I held
Yes.
to that like
Yeah.
thing. Those are just sort of some of the small ways that you can cultivate
Yeah.
self-trust. And I think that it's cyclical,
Yeah.
where your intuition will speak more loudly to you when you find, all of the different paths to cultivating that self-trust.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point is that if you can find one or two little things that you can hold yourself accountable to every day and start to build that routine and show up for yourself that way, then you intuitively start to say, oh, okay, I can trust that every day, I'm gonna drink my water and I'm gonna care for myself that way. Like it doesn't have to be, I think a lot of times we think that it has to be this like, oh, my gut feeling, right? But it is that. But at the same
Mhm.
time, there's so many other aspects of learning to trust yourself, right? And so I think that's beautiful that you brought that up. And I think that's a beautiful reminder for anybody listening that, if you're, because I'm sure you hear this too a lot. I get a lot of well, I'm like, trust my gut. Like, but like, I can't even tolerate milk or like, like, what is my
Mhm.
gut? What does that mean? So these external things that you can start to build are also very valuable.
Yeah,
Um,
I find that like body scan meditations and that sort
mhm,
of thing, like the more you spend time with your awareness in your body, really like,
mhm,
but noticing like just the different sensations or what different emotions feel like in your body or different reactions,
mhm.
I think you start to get a stronger, like, just sense of knowing what is your intuition.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I also think the more you really genuinely know yourself, like the more you go inward and
Mhm.
not just like facing your shadow side, but
Yeah.
just the more that you can figure out like why you do the things you do or
Mhm.
what like how you can balance your energy a little bit more, how you can lean into your strengths, outsource or get support for some of the areas
Yeah.
where you have challenges. Like I think the more you know, the more you're able to trust yourself too, because
Hmm.
you can make those links a little bit more quickly.
Yeah, and learning to outsource, right, is a major part of self-trust because you have to trust yourself and you have to trust that person that you're outsourcing to. So that is a huge step. I think that when you get to that place where you can trust that you are making the right decision to outsource whatever it is, that's a huge win for a lot of women, especially who, we're conditioned, do it all, take it all on. You can handle it. What's wrong with you, right? So I think that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like
Yeah.
that perspective. Um,
It's interesting, I think, because we don't, when it comes to like outsourcing the roles, the conditioning, it all tells us like, well, these are the things that you should outsource, or this is what we follow the shoulds so
yes,
much.
yes.
But like, there's this tool. Have you ever heard of the Working Genius?
No, I have
It's
not.
like, okay, it's a simple like personality tool that's really interesting that helps you understand your strengths in like the life cycle of a project. So
Mm,
if you're a business owner, for example, but you struggle, like I think a lot of the times we think like I'm going to outsource like the tasks, like the
mm,
some of the like busy work type stuff.
yeah.
There's some people that thrive in the busy work, but it's
Mm,
really like the bigger visionary stuff that they struggle with. And
hmm.
so maybe they don't need an assistant or somebody to help with
Yeah.
like the small details. They need like a visionary partner, but without that knowing, I think
Hmm.
that it's hard to outsource the right
Yeah.
thing and live in your area of genius where you're just like living in inspiration and flow.
That is, yeah, groundbreaking because how many of us are conditioned to believe that we should outsource the house cleaning or, whatever it is. But,
Yeah.
as a
Yep.
mom, I loved cleaning and cooking. And every time I'd be like, I'm overwhelmed, I can't deal, everyone would be like, well, get a cleaner. Like, but if I get a cleaner, then I don't have that break for my mental sanity. And that was
Mhm.
what I love. So I love this idea. I wish I had it 18 years ago when my kids were little, but
Yeah,
I love the
seriously.
idea of that.
Mhm.
What is it, maybe like you said in the business, maybe you can do the little things like the accounting and all those things, but you can't do the big vision things. So what a
Mhm.
powerful tool. I'll have to make sure that I'll find a link for that or something and put it in the show
Mhm.
notes because I think that that's a very powerful tool just to know basically,
Mhm.
where you're strong and where do you need to outsource or where could
Mhm.
you outsource in a way that will support you as opposed to, I don't know. I always felt like every time I ever got a cleaner, I always felt like I had to clean first. So it really wasn't it
Yeah,
wasn't beneficial for me at all.
I know.
Yeah.
Cleaning for the cleaning person. I know. Yeah, yeah, it's like a special kind of stress that we carry.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So I think I had like three or four different people come in over the span of like 18 years and I could never deal with that. So anyways, that's amazing tool. So now you work with women and individuals to help them in this process. Can you tell us like what is it that you do? How do you work with people?
Yes. So, okay. So I have the podcast, the Becoming You Project, and then I also do one-on-one coaching. And my coaching really focuses on this like mind, body, soul approach to healing. I think that there's a lot of, not just like healing, but aligning your business in a way that you can sort of burnout proof it. A lot of what I
Mm,
do is through the lens of burnout. So you don't necessarily have to be in burnout,
yeah.
but I think that there's just so much weight that we carry from the roles that we, play at home and in our families and in our extended families. And then if you add, business on top of that, it's really hard to know how to connect with the work that fuels you. And I
Hmm.
think especially when we reach this like midlife point I do a lot of work with astrology. I blend
Hmm.
astrology through a lot of my work, and
Love that.
we call it the Uranus opposition. It's a time around your early 40s where you just start to question everything. And
Hmm.
so, I think that there's a lot of times where we tune in and we sort of question like, what does purpose mean for me? What does meaning mean for me? Have I built my life in a way that feels really like aligned and connected? I hear a lot this idea that like, I feel guilty for saying this, but I kind of just expected there to be more,
Yeah.
like, is
Oh
this
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a really, again, like empty
Yeah.
feeling. And
Hmm.
so I think that by aligning business with strengths and energy, we can
Hmm.
also create space to help people reconnect with purpose and meaning and figure
Hmm.
out how to weave those things back in so that life becomes more meaningful. The work that you're doing feels more impactful.
Hmm.
And, if you feel in a professional world like you're working a job that you're not sure if it's really like aligned with who you are,
Yeah.
this work is also, also says that you don't have to tear everything down in order to like reconnect with purpose and meaning. There's ways to
Yeah.
like infuse your life with that without having to just like start from scratch.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but we do really focus on this like mind, body, soul approach because in
Hmm.
the body, like you can't really create transformation and change
Yeah.
if you're living in a dysregulated nervous system.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so many of us, I think, are living in some variation of functional freeze just with
Yeah.
how much we carry.
Yeah.
And so, we start there and then we focus a lot on mind, right? Mindset work. I think
Hmm.
to an extent, mindset culture can be toxic and
Yes.
bypassy.
Yes.
If you don't
100%.
focus
Yeah.
on like the body and soul, and then with soul, it is that connection to purpose and meaning. And so,
Hmm.
to if you want transformation in your life,
Hmm.
you really have to focus on that balance.
Yeah. That is such an important point that you need to bring it all together because like you said, the mindset work, there's a lot of a lot of things happening in the mindset space that's this, if you just think about it, if you just
Mhm.
believe it, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, your body is completely dysregulated, your nervous system is completely whacked out,
Mhm.
your spirit is craving something more, and you're
Mhm.
almost gaslighting yourself if you're thinking, oh,
Mhm.
if I just think the positive things, it's going to come to fruition. And so I love
Mhm.
that you're working in that approach where everything is coming together. You said something too that I thought was really interesting, that, we don't have to burn it all down. Because I know for myself and so many of the women I work with, we do get to this phase in our 40s where it's like, I've put in 30 something years here, right? And
Mhm.
what good was it? I should just
Mhm.
start all over again. Like this is not what I expected. I expected I don't know, like the Golden Girls era, right?
Mhm.
We had so
Mhm.
much bigger expectations. And then when we get
Mhm.
here, it's like, what is this for real? So I love that you're working with individuals to not feel like they have to just burn it all down and start again.
Mhm.
That is so powerful. Can you give us kind of an example, maybe, of what it would look like to start to shift out of that, I need to burn it all down, and how do we actually
Mhm.
start to move into the direction of finding aligned purpose? What does that look like?
Mhm. So I think one of the things that I hear the most is like, I don't have time.
Mm,
how can I possibly add one more thing? I barely
yeah,
have time for anything. And so really like the first step is regulation. It's figuring
yeah,
because do you know how much time we're wasting every day when we're living in a dysregulated nervous
yeah.
system, when the stress is coursing through your body, you're ruminating or just stuck in these loops. And
Hmm.
so regulation is the first thing,
Yeah,
and then creating space. So a lot of times, do you ever get like um I hear this all the time too. Like, the shower is the space that like
yeah,
inspiration, like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like when you get your best ideas.
Yeah.
It's creating moments like that throughout your day to
Hmm.
figure out how to invite those little like
Yeah.
things to show up. So it's like a balance of releasing
Hmm.
like the emotional load that you're carrying, whatever stuck energy you're carrying, a
Yeah.
balance of that release with inviting in inspiration.
Hmm.
And then from there, we start to figure out, where from there, we really figure out like what purpose means for you.
Hmm.
And if whether or not that's like aligned with the day-to-day work. So for a lot of
Hmm.
people, like there's some people that reconnecting with their purpose, it might like they might find it, they're working and they have kids and everything is chaos, but like purpose for them is truly like nurturing their children and creating, like helping them build like a higher emotional intelligence than like they were born with. And that's where they
Yeah.
genuinely find fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so being able to say, like, maybe I don't need to focus so much on like the work that I'm doing 9 to 5 every day, and I
Hmm.
know that like this is the purpose that I have. It's like I'm
Yeah.
cycle breaking, or I'm
Yeah.
pouring into my kids, or it
Yeah.
could be a small side project. There's lots of different ways that you can infuse your life with it, but you have to quiet all of the noise first,
Hmm.
because if you don't do that first, then everything is the problem. There's no
Hmm.
um you can't figure out how to really like um, find the areas where you can like inject purpose and
Hmm.
meaning
Yeah.
when it's all just one giant chaotic problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's we do like a time audit when we have those clients that come in that are like, I don't have time for anything. Everything is chaos. And so we audit the time, and often we do find that, we when you are the happiest, that is those moments that you need to infuse more in. So I love that, that reminder that so you might have a 9 to 5 job, but where your passion is at home. So how do you let yourself infuse more of that passion into your kids or into a different space? Maybe it's a hobby or something, but I think often we are so career driven, or, in this society, it's like, what do you do? What do you do? Right? So when you're trying to find your purpose, I'm sure you find that many of the people are like, well, I need to do a job that brings purpose, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, does it?
No, but yeah, we are taught that like we need to produce more, do more,
Hmm.
climb whatever ladder, achieve someone else's version of success.
Yeah.
Outsource our identity to like job titles and possessions,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so that's what we're striving for. And we really think that like that's supposed to be the thing that gives us purpose and meaning because
Yeah.
that's what the rule book tells us.
Hmm.
But the thing that the place that you find purpose and meaning is different for everyone. It could
Yeah.
be, at home with your kids. It could be in the animal shelter that you volunteer with once a week.
Hmm.
It could be, in a hobby that you have that you share with the world. So,
Yeah.
whatever the gifts are that you have within you that you want to share, the healing you've done that you want to pass forward, however that happens, a lot
Hmm.
of times that's where we can look to find that feeling of purpose.
Yeah. I love that. What a great way to inspire people to look outside the box, right? Look outside the traditional shoulda, coulda, wouldas that society has put you in and create something that feels purpose driven and that feels so aligned with who you are. Jess, this has been an amazing conversation. I feel like we could probably talk for hours on these topics,
Mhm.
but unfortunately, we try to keep the podcast digestible. So I would love, can you share with our audience maybe, one action item or something that really resonated with you that they can take into their day after listening to this?
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, when you are searching for more or you're searching for, you're working to fill a void that you're not sure how to fill,
Hmm.
go inward. So,
Hmm.
start with some deep breathing and really get grounded, but go
Hmm.
inward, focus on regulation first, and then
Yeah.
create space. So,
Yeah.
whatever you can do, a minute in your car before you head inside to the chaos of
Hmm.
your kids, wherever you can
Yeah.
find, space for yourself,
Hmm.
find those little corners just for you.
Amazing. And that's totally doable. You can take, to that busy mom that's like, I can't find time. You can take 60 seconds to take a deep breath. It is doable. It absolutely is. So, Jess, thank you so much for being on here. I think that your story and how you're moving into your business is such a great reminder that chaos doesn't mean that it's the end. It just is a doorway for us to step into to find, our purpose and to find our confidence. So, I love how you've really shown us that, it's not so much that the answers are out there, but more so that they're within us and within that moment of pause and that internal dialogue and that internal trusting. For those that want to go deeper with you or are like this girl, I need to connect with her, I need to find her, where are the best places for them to connect with you?
Well, you can follow the podcast. It's the Becoming You Project, or find me I'm on Substack at the Becoming You Project or under my name, Jess Callahan. And I'm on Instagram too at Jess Callahan _.
Okay, perfect. And guys, I'll make sure that everything is in the show notes for you so that, if you're driving and listening to this, please don't go off the road trying to figure out how to get the connection. They will be in the show notes. You can just grab it and connect with her. So, again, Jess, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your heart, your wisdom with us. We greatly appreciate it. For those listening, like I said, if Jess's story has resonated with you, make sure to check out her podcast, The Becoming You Project, and follow her on Instagram. Again, it'll be in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about it. As always, my friends, what a lovely opportunity to have conversation and be in connection with fellow women. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get more of these episodes. Share this episode with a friend if you feel that you have connected with it and you know that they will as well. And if you can leave a review, that would mean the world to us. So make sure that we can bring more of these incredible conversations to the show. Jess, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Until next time, guys, make sure that you are following, and we will see you next week.